Hey guys, Ken Ajoku here, and I'm a property investor and I've been investing in property over 25 years. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about lease options, also known as LOA, lease option agreement. So stay tuned for more. So what is a lease option agreement, or what is a lease option? A lease option, in very simple terms, is this. In fact, let me give you a story or a little scenario behind, and then you can join the dots and then you can see exactly how it makes sense. So where you would use a lease option is whereby you have somebody that's trying to sell their property and they want to get as much money as possible for it. So it could be that their property's been on the market for a long time and then they're trying to sell at a particular fixed price because they owe a certain amount in the mortgage, or they paid a lot more for the property and they have no way of reducing that price, or they've remortgaged the property up to its maximum and they cannot for any reason reduce the price of the property. So you, as a savvy investor, will offer them a solution, and the solution will be, listen, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss investor, I would like to buy your property, and what I would do is I'll buy your property from you for the price that you want to sell it, but I'll give you that money in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years time. And that is all a lease option is you've agreed, you've made an agreement in place to purchase that property at a later date for a fixed amount of money. Now, the beautiful thing about the lease option is that you can earn 3 different ways. You can earn on what we call the front end, the middle, and the back end. The front end is that you can charge a investor buyer. How would I put this? You would charge a someone that will rent that place from you, that will a let to buy, what we call a let to buy. So they'll be letting the property with the intention to purchase that property later on. So you agree the lease option with the seller. Listen, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, Mr. Seller, Miss or Doctor or whatever. I don't want to go into all the titles, but listen, seller, I will give you the money you want for your property. Let's say in 5 years time. They said, yeah, that's great. But what happens with the mortgage? We'll take care of the mortgage. Okay, that's great. So what about, I need some money now. We'll give you that money. So you've agreed with them. You're going to give them some money and you're going to purchase that property in that period of time. So in the meantime, you now get a tenant buyer. A tenant buyer will come in there, and a tenant buyer would be someone that cannot get a mortgage now, but in 3 or 5 years time could possibly get that mortgage. So that tenant buyer will come in there and they'll pay what we call hyper rent. Hyper rent is a slightly inflated rent, which will be used to pay towards the purchase of the property. But obviously you're not going to sell the property to the tenant buyer for the same price that the seller is selling it to you. So stay with me, stay with me. It does sound a bit complicated, but it will get easier in a second. So let's use figures. 100,000 you've agreed to purchase the property. You agree to sell the property at 150,000 in 7 years time. So the tenant buyer is happy because they've come in, they've got a property, they haven't got a mortgage yet, but they're happy to pay towards that property and they're happy to put down a small deposit. That small deposit, you can give it to the seller and take a commission on there. So that's the front end. In the middle, how the middle works is that you would do what's called hyperinflation on the rental payments. So the hyperinflation is that the money will be increased every month. So say, for example, the rent was maybe £400 in that area. You could charge them £500 and use that £100 additional to pay towards the money that they owe on the other end. So yeah, you with me? So they owe 150, remember? You've agreed 100,000. So the difference is 50,000. So that 50,000, you can use that £100 extra every month to deduct from that additional 50,000. You with me? Good. So that's the middle end. Then the back end is whatever is left remaining. Say, for example, it's, I don't know, 20 grand. I've not done the mathematics in my head, but let's say, for example, it's 20,000 that's remaining. That 20,000 will be paid on the back end to you, the investor. In the meantime, once that at the end of the whole process, you will pay the seller back their 100,000 that you've agreed. the buyer would have paid you a certain amount towards that, 130,000 or whatever. They give you 20,000 extra on the back end, and in the middle you're collecting £100 every month for additional rent. Meanwhile, you're paying the seller's mortgage all this while. So it is a little bit complicated. It does have to be structured properly. You do have to put legal instruments in place, and there's only certain people that can do this and do this properly. It is something that has to be structured. It is lovely because you don't need to put down heavy deposits. If you're, for example, sourcing, you will pay a sourcing fee. You'll pay a sourcer to do that. If, on the other hand, you are the sourcer, you would charge someone a fee to do that, set up that project for them as well. So it is a fantastic strategy. It's a very lovely strategy. It's not easy to do if you don't know what you're doing, but with the right knowledge, you can do this very, very well. And after a few of these type of deals, you could be financially free in no time if you structure them properly. Remember, property is about people, it's not about property. So you look after the seller, make sure the seller is looked after. Look after the tenant buyer, make sure they're looked after. And look after yourself at the other side, and make sure all throughout everything is done tidy, professionally, legally, and then, you know, the rest is history. It will work out if you do it properly. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this video with people that are thinking about getting into property. Maybe they haven't got a clue. This will give them some kind of ideas, and I'll put in the description below how you can reach out to us and how you can connect with us, and maybe if you need any further information or further questions that you would like to ask. So feel free to do that. So have a fantastic day. Thank you very much for listening, and take care. I'll see you on the next video. Take care. God bless.